Hello Reborners, my name is Karen and this is Making Dolls with Karen. We have a new baby on the table, it's Felicity. This is the Felicity awake. I don't have Felicity asleep, I wish I did, but I don't. She is, I guess, on what you'd call on hold. They have a bunch of Bountiful baby kits that they so-called discontinued. And then they put a little note that said if it's a real born, it's going to be reintroduced later, but they just don't know when. And Felicity's one of those. She's a little misshapen from her bake, but we'll fix that. We fixed it on Dominic. Won't be no problem. So we're going to start with her enhancements. I'm not going to try to do quite as many enhancements on her at one time as I did on June. It was just too much. I did every enhancement that there was to do on her all at one time. And I've decided to lay off the modeling for a little bit. I'm just not real satisfied with it. On some of the dolls it looks really rough. On some of them it looks subtle. On some of them it looks light. On some of them it looks dark. I don't know. It's just too much. So we're going to start with her blue. That's what we always start with, is blue. And as long as I have blue in these brushes, I don't have to redip them. The problem is which one of these brushes is going to put some blue by her eye? I just don't know until I start using them. This one's doing fine. I think the blue in the corner of the eyes is a real good step. Well, a lot of the steps we do are real good steps. In fact, all of them are. We shouldn't even be doing them if they're not good steps, right? But I really like enhancing the face. It's one of my favorite parts of making dolls, is to get to do the face. Now I'm going to give her a little blue up here on her forehead. This is probably too dark, but never fear. We're going to dab it first, and then we're going to kabuki the crap out of it. Lots of kabukiing spreads and subdues the color a lot. If you want to move it around a little, just do a little swirl like this. Don't swirl hard, you'll rub it off. But we just want to move a little bit of it. And if you want to, I mean, you don't have to. And she's going to have a lot of work done in her mouth because it's open. Her tongue is actually sticking out. I don't really like having to do tongues. I don't like it at all. But it is a step, and it is something we have to do. Now, as far as her blue on her face, that's all I do. Now, we're going to move to, I did redip my brushes yesterday, but these really little ones are super wet. I'm afraid that the color that they put on there is going to be very harsh. So I'm going to try to pick one that I think is dry. And I'm just going to do a little bit on her lips. I'm just going to do a little bit because, well, you know, you can only do so much with dry brushing anyway. But these bigger brushes, the bristles are so splayed out that it's really hard to brush onto the lips without getting it all over their face. And you don't want to get it all over their face because then you just have to go clean it up. I never bought any of those really, really expensive brushes because I like to have my brushes separate for each color. And if I bought those real expensive brushes, I wouldn't be able to afford to have a separate little bunch of brushes. You know, you want every size of brush, just about it. But you want to have, I don't want to have to give up my dry brushing or have to wash my brushes. So that's why I went with a cheaper kind of brush. This is one of the better cheap brushes though. And they come in a nice little pack. I just keep mentioning it because I'm afraid that people who are just subscribing or just watching their first video and this is it, haven't seen the videos for the other things that I've mentioned in other videos. So some things I mention over and over and over again. And other things, I just do them and I don't mention them. And mention anything about why I do it because I've said it so many times. But I still feel for the person. Never touch the paint. I still feel for the person who's just tuning in. So I'm going to give a little, this is what the set looks like. There are a couple places, Office Supply has them. And there's another place, but I can't remember the name. I'll drop it in the description. They're very nice brushes. You can see you get 15 sizes, and they're not expensive at all. And so you don't have to worry about, oh, well, I can't buy 2 sets of those or 3 or whatever I want, because they're just too expensive, because they're just not. Okay, we've got her lips, and we've got her blue by her eyes and the blue on her forehead. Now I'm going to try to find my blue pencil. I know it's here somewhere. And I'm going to vein her. Here it is. When you're veining, you want to remember to use you don't want to use the color you really think you want to use. I thought turquoise was the right on color, and it just came out so boldly dark. So I dropped down to aquamarine. It's like a shade lighter, or 2 shades maybe, and it puts just the right color on them. And you can make them just as fat or as skinny as you want. And it's all done by how hard you press down. And the color as well. You want dark or light. Also, how hard you press down. If you want super sharp, skinny veins, you're going to need to sharpen your pencil some more. I like a rounded tip on my pencil for this, because I'm not trying to make those sharp little tiny veins like capillaries are. I'm just trying to make some veins. And I'm going to put one that's, you don't have to start it up on the head, but it helps me get it right. Because if you're going to put hair on the head, it's not even going to show at all. But it helps me to get the vein to start to looking right if I start up high, and I get a chance to do a lot of squiggles before I get down on the face. And hopefully you can't even see that. And I haven't even rubbed it yet. They say if you can see it on camera, it is too dark. And I want it to be a little subdued. We want to have a vein, but we don't want to have some big, bold, fat, dark blue thing on her head. It's just a subtle thing. It's something that is in the background. Let's put it that way. It's supposed to be part of her undertones, not any part of her overtones. That means you can see it maybe, but you won't every time see the veins. Sometimes they will be covered by paint, but almost every time you'll still see these veins at the end. I put one on each temple. Make sure they're squiggly. You don't want to put any straight lines on them. Veins are not straight, even though sometimes they look straight. But okay, now we're going to do her capillaries. You can pick whatever color you want for your capillaries. This Crimson Lake is ever so good. It's a Prisma pencil called Crimson Lake. I get my pencils from Jerry's Artorama. It's just type it into their search engine. It comes right up. The pencils are like $1.35, and if you buy 12, they're like $1.25. And you can mix and match the colors. You don't have to get 12 of one color. And they are super affordable. Super affordable. And I got a tip. Otherwise, I would have bought 15 colors of red to see which one I wanted. But I got a tip from one of my viewers that she said Crimson Lake and Tuscan Red were 2 good colors. I haven't tried the Tuscan Red because I'm just in love with this Crimson Lake. Okay, capillaries are usually on the eyelids. Now, she's an open-eyed doll. You could put some real close to her eye, but they look kind of funny if you do. Those capillaries are mostly for closed-eyed dolls, but they also have them sometimes on their cheeks. So you want to have a very sharp pencil for this, because capillaries are very, very tiny, super thin and super tiny. And you want them to be sharp and crisp, and you don't want them to be anywhere fat or smudgy or any other. They have to be very sharp and crisp. And once again, you decide by pressing down how dark you want the capillary to be. Now, this is a capillary. I know that you can see this because if you enlarge, my friend told me she could see it. If you enlarge your screen, you'll see it real good. That's a capillary. Now you can put as many or as few as you want. You can have them long or short. They can have as many branches as you want on them, or just be a squiggly line. I'm going to put a couple up here on her temple as well. The more squiggly they are, the more realistic I think they look. And that's just my opinion, and it's not really worth a lot. Only opinion that matters, should matter to you, is your opinion. I like doing capillaries. I think they are very beneficial to the overall look of your doll when it's finished. You don't have to worry about anything being too dark, I don't think, in the capillaries, as long as you don't press down hard, because paint's going over the top of it, and not only that, it's going to bake, and after baking, we all know that everything lightens up a little bit. Pencil doesn't lighten up as much as paint does, but it seems to me like everything lightens up just a little bit. Now she's got capillaries on both sides of her face. And I think that's enough. You can put them on the forehead and up on the head and anywhere you want to. But I don't want to over capillary her. There is such a thing as getting too many capillaries. Ooh, don't do that. I just wiped off some of her lip stuff. I thought I was smoothing it out. There we go. Okay. Now, I don't think that any paint is going to make the capillaries run or turn them orange. So I'm going to go on and put her yellow on it. I usually put it on first, but I was anxious to do capillaries, I guess. I'm using raw sienna. I don't use primary yellow. It's too bright, I think, for it all. And so I use this raw sienna. It's a browner, darker yellow, like spicy mustard colored almost. Excuse me. But it puts a beautiful, beautiful yellow on your doll. It gives her just the perfect little fat on her face. And this baby has a fat face, so we want to put yellow on it. We always put it on this little part coming down from the nose right here, and I have it on my fingers evidently because I'm getting it on her forehead. And I didn't want it there. I need a paper towel or something. Usually you can wipe wet paint right off if you don't wait too long. It'll just wipe right off. And just like that, see? Oh, it left a little yellow there, but it's not going to hurt anything. Actually, what it did is it neutralized the blue. It just neutralized it right away. There's a little spot right there now where there's no blue color. So if you ever have too much blue on your doll, let's remember yellow. I'm going to put a little above her lip here because she's got a fattish face. And even down here on her chin, her face is just a little chubby. And everywhere you put this yellow, it's going to be this beautiful undertone. It's just beautiful. And I love it. It looks good to me. And I'm going to have to go back and put a little blue there because that looks funny. But we want to make sure everything that we put on our doll is wet paint, that we have to dab it because it's too harsh and dark and wet and it could run. And the thing about it is it'll leave a rashy looking look on your doll. Where's the blue? Blue, blue, blue. Here's blue. I just can't take that. That's just funny looking. I just really, really neutralized away the blue that was there. Took it right away. That's better. I mean, that worked perfectly. So if you ever need to neutralize blue, you want to use yellow. And I guess if you had too much yellow, you neutralize it with blue. I think the color wheel says purple, but that was a remarkable neutralization of that blue on her forehead. Anyway, now she's got her yellow. That's all I do in yellow. I don't do any more. Now, if they had really, really, really fat, chubby, the only doll that I've ever seen that I've actually made since I've been using yellow that was fat enough to get any on their limbs was Tessa. She has rolls of fat on her legs. And so most of them just have these little, barely anything on their legs like this one. And it just doesn't warrant any yellow on it. Some people put yellow all over their doll. I don't. I don't think it's beneficial. But we're going to try to finish her face before we move on to the rest of her body. Pretty much, we've done a lot to her face already, but I want to color a little bit on her nose. And I'm not putting it where the yellow was. I only put the yellow up this side. Well, let me hold it where you can see it better. Up this side, across this part of her nose, and down here. I didn't put any on the tip or any up here because it doesn't go there, in my opinion. But anything I tell you to do or not to do, if you don't like it, you just don't do it. You just do what you've been doing. But this is just my way of making dolls, and it works for me, and I like it. And people seem to like my dolls. They always are telling me how pretty they are. And I think I'm getting better and better all the time. I don't want her nose to be Rudolph red, so I'm dabbing it a little so it just only looks pink. Don't put pink on your doll. Every time I say the word pink, I think somebody's going to get the idea, well, if we're looking for pink, then we'll just put pink on the doll. But pink won't look like that when it's on your doll. It's going to look like something else. Bad, for one thing. What the heck? Her ears are... She barely has a back of the ear. I mean, barely. I don't even know if I can paint it. Pink has no place on your doll. Now, if you've been using pink and it's working for you, keep on doing it. But if you are a brand new artist and you haven't even colored a doll, painted a doll yet, I'm going to advise you not to use pink on your doll. The color should be red. It's this color right here. It's a dark, dark red. But yes, it looks pinkish on your doll because we're putting it on very light. It's very diluted and it's very light, and a lot of it has evaporated out of the brush. So you wouldn't want your doll to be deep wine color either. So, you know, there's a happy medium there. You just go with this is really red, and it's not really pink, and it looks pinkish, but when you get all finished with your doll, it doesn't look like you have any pink hardly at all on your doll. I'd show you June, but she's sopping wet with sealer right now, and I can't pick her up because I'm afraid I'll smudge it. I used to make the ears much, much darker, and then I decided it looked fake. So I go with a very, very light pink now, a light, light color. I don't want it to look fake. I'm going to remind everybody about dry brushing, dry painting. I accidentally stumbled across dry painting because I wanted to touch up a doll. And I was hoping that a brush that I had used had enough red paint in it for me to just touch up a spot on the doll. And I was surprised that there was any paint left in it, actually. And I found that it covered well. It doesn't smudge as bad. It doesn't leave that rashy look. It's just a beautiful, clean job. If you've painted very many dolls, you know that they can get muddy feet and hands from too much paint or too harsh of a color maybe, or too many layers or whatever. But this dry painting is very clean painting. And you don't have to worry too much about, unless you didn't let your brushes dry. The brushes have to be dry to do this dry painting, and they don't dry overnight. Genesis seemed to do a little better than this Gemini. You have to wait a couple of days. That's why I have so many brushes, because of the waiting factor. I don't like to wait. And I'm afraid I may not be able to do her fingers and stuff, because all my tiny brushes got used yesterday, and I re-dipped them, and it's way too soon to be trying to you know, put the to use those brushes. I'm going to go on and blush her face. I don't think it's going to interfere with what we've already done. I put the blush on very dark like that, and then I kabuki it until it gets to the color I like, and I spread it around a little bit. I always give her a little on her forehead. It usually goes a little to her right, my left, and then I do her cheeks. And once again, I don't think it's going to interfere with the yellow. It didn't on June. I did June, and it worked out fine. Put a lot on there. Make it dark like that, and then we're going to kabuki that. And you can spread it up on their eyes, over on their nose, way over by their ears, anywhere you want to spread it to soften it out. And if you still aren't getting it soft enough, give it a little swirl. You don't want to swirl hard. You'll take all the paint right off that you just put on. And the more you use the brush, the more you have to pounce it around on the doll to even get any color on it. This one's not working anymore. It needs to be dipped. Let me get kind of scared on which ones to get, because I don't know which ones got dipped yesterday. This one's okay. I've stuffed her head. Don't use polyfill to stuff your doll, because it will swell. The polyfill swells and your doll's head will start to be very big. Use rags. I use sheets. I just go to a secondhand store and buy some top sheets. It doesn't matter. It can be bottom sheets. And I just cut them into squares. Just pieces. And they're washed and used enough that it doesn't even matter if they're colored. They won't come off on your doll. Anyway, so there she is. She's blushed, and she has almost all of her enhancements. I'm going to put a little on her eyes, because that area seems to always be too white at the end. And I'm just going to dab it with this here. There we go. Okay, now the rest of her will be done with skin colors. We'll put layers on her of skin colors. I think I've done everything on her that I'm supposed to do with enhancements on her face. Not sure, but I think I did. So now we're going to move on to her. I'm not going to try to crease her. It takes too long. I'll crease her later in the process. It's just very time consuming. Now on the bottom of the feet, I'm going to put a little blue right where the arch would be. These dolls have arches, but babies have fat little feet. They don't have any arches, but right where the arch would be is supposed to be a little bit blue, like that. You can't see it because you're not supposed to. And then this one, same diff. We're going to put it right in the archway of her foot, and then dab it. And if you don't think it's dark enough, put a little more until it's the color you want. It'll get darker every time you dab it. Even if you pounce it too hard, it'll come off. Okay, that's all the blue we need. Now we're going to get another red one out, and we're going to go around the edges of her foot. We're going to pay attention to the actual toes. We want to make sure the back of every toe is painted. Just the back, because we're concentrating on the bottom of the foot. We have not yet decided what we want to do on the top of the foot. Now, if we decide to paint the toes on the top of the foot, we're going to have we're going to have to take care of the sides also. One thing this dry paint doesn't do very well is get down in the creases. You have to really color or you're going to have some white creases, and you don't want that. It won't make them dirty looking to paint them, but they will be very white if you don't paint them, and it looks funny. Now this is way too harsh of red. I had to do that to get it down in the creases. See, it's just way, way too harsh. So we are going to pounce it with a sponge and get a lot of that color off. We only want lightly pink feet. Kind of like that. A lot different than what they were. They're still a little dark. I could kabuki them, but I don't really want to. We're going to let that sit for a minute, and I'm going to do this foot. Once again, these curled up toes are so hard to paint the back of them. Every toe, you have to paint the back of it. And then we're going to paint the entire bottom of the foot as well, just like we did on the other one. We're going to make sure every crease is colored. We don't want to leave them open and white. That looks real funny. And then we're going to dab that as well. If you get a little bit on the blue, it doesn't really matter. If you think it's not blue enough anymore, you can just go back and get your blue brush and put a little more on there. Kind of like that. I did cover up some of that blue, but no biggie. So it basically looks like that. And then when we start putting layers on it, it's going to start to look like a little bit different color. I'm going to kabuki her a little. I just don't like the harshness of this red. Once this bakes, it will be permanent. Excuse me. And we won't have to worry about... I'm not ready to do anything to her hands, I don't think. Excuse me. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. She has a lot of creases on her hands and her wrists. So it's going to be a little bit hard. To put her enhancements on her hands and stuff. What I've been doing, I wish that June wasn't so wet. What I've been doing is just coloring the parts of the finger where it doesn't have any creases with red. You have to use a real skinny brush for that, and all my skinny brushes are sopping wet. It would put a very harsh color on her. And I don't know what to do next. We may just get her in the oven now. I won't even need to bake her arms, just her legs and her face. And get her first bake. And then once it's finished, we'll come back and, oh, I can vein her. I can vein her arms and legs. I forgot about that. Remember, wiggly. It reminds me of when you're looking at, well, a lot of y'all are too young to even know what road maps are, paper road maps. People used to keep them in the trunk of their cars, the glove box of their car, and they would take them out and refer to them as to where to go. And some of the things on the, all the things on the map would be different colors, like a highway might be green, and a regular road or street would be maybe yellow or orange or something. But the all the waterways would always be blue. Rivers and stuff. That's what these veins remind me of. You're looking at the road map and you see the little blue. Well, that's the river, Anyway, she's got veins now. And we're going to go on and bake her. Now her arms do need baking. And when we come back, we'll see what we need to do to her. But in the meantime, I want to ask everybody to please like, subscribe, and share. And happy reborning.